You just got sentenced to 5 years in a federal prison. The judge's gavel comes down, and everything you knew about life ends. The marshals put you in chains. Your lawyer mumbles something about appeals, but you're not listening. You're thinking about the stories you've heard, the movies you've seen. You're terrified. This is just the beginning. The intake process strips away everything. Literally. They take your clothes, your wallet, your wedding ring. You stand naked in a concrete room while a guard you've never met inspects every part of your body. Bend over, spread your cheeks. Welcome to the system. They hand you scratchy orange scrubs that smell like industrial detergent and fear. You're not a person anymore. You're inmate number 74392. The bus ride to the facility takes 3 hours. You're shackled to 7 other men. Nobody talks. One guy is crying silently. Another stares out the window like he's memorizing the free world. You're trying to remember everything you've read online about prison survival. Don't look anyone in the eye. Find your people. Stay out of politics. It all feels like advice for a different planet. When you arrive, the reality hits differently than you expected. It's not the violence that strikes you first. It's the noise. Metal doors slamming, hundreds of voices echoing off concrete walls, guards shouting, a constant industrial hum that never stops. The smell is worse. Sweat, disinfectant, something rotten you can't identify. This is your home now. Your cellmate is already there when the guard shoves you inside. 6 by 8 feet, 2 bunks, a steel toilet, a tiny sink. The man on the bottom bunk doesn't look up. He's reading a legal document covered in handwritten notes. You climb onto the top bunk. The mattress is 2 inches thick and smells like the last guy who slept there. You lie perfectly still, staring at the ceiling 6 inches from your face. The first night is endless. Lights never fully go out. Every sound makes your heart race. Someone screams at 2 in the morning. Guards run past your cell. You hear what sounds like a fight, then silence. Your cellmate doesn't even stir. You realize he's learned to sleep through chaos. You won't sleep at all tonight. Morning comes with a bell that sounds like an alarm clock designed in hell. Breakfast is at 6. You follow the crowd to the chow hall, trying to look confident while your stomach churns. The line moves slowly. Inmates size you up. You can feel their eyes. Fresh meat. That's what you are. You grab a tray, powdered eggs, something that might be oatmeal, bread that tastes like cardboard. You stand there holding your tray, scanning for an empty seat. This is the moment everyone warned you about. Where you sit matters. Choose wrong, and you're done before you start. An older inmate catches your eye. He nods toward an empty spot at his table. You walk over, moving carefully, trying not to spill anything. Weakness gets noticed. You sit down. The man doesn't introduce himself. He just talks. Real quiet, so only you can hear. "You got people on the outside?" he asks. You nod. "Good. You're gonna need them. This place runs on currency. Commissary, favors, information, everything costs something." He pauses, studying your face. You look educated. That helps. Can't fight your way through 5 years, but you can think your way through it. He leans closer. There are rules here the guards don't tell you about. First rule, mind your own business. You see something, you didn't see it. Someone asks you questions about another inmate, you don't know anything. Second rule, debt is death. You borrow something, you pay it back immediately. Commissary, cigarettes, whatever. A week late and the interest gets ugly. Third rule, respect is everything, but don't confuse it with fear. Be polite, be firm, never be weak. The old man slides his tray back and stands up. You're on your own now, kid. Make smart choices. The first month crawls by like a decade. You learn the invisible boundaries. The yard has territories. The phones have a pecking order. The TV room has unspoken rules about what gets watched when. Break these rules and you get corrected. Sometimes with words. Sometimes with fists. Sometimes you just disappear into solitary. You watch everything. You study the ecosystem like your life depends on it. Because it does. You notice the shot callers, the guys who run things from the inside. They're not always the biggest or the loudest. Often they're quiet men who've been down for 15 years and have networks that reach into every cell block. You get a job in the prison library. It pays 11 cents an hour, but it's the best assignment you could hope for. It's quiet. There are books. You're away from the constant tension of the cell blocks. Plus, the guys who use the library are usually working on their appeals. They need help with legal research. You're good with documents, with details everyone else ignores. You become useful. That's your survival strategy. Become valuable without becoming a target. You help inmates draft motions. You explain legal terminology. You don't charge them, but they remember. They owe you. In here, gratitude is currency. One afternoon, a guard pulls you aside. You've got a visitor. Your stomach drops. You haven't told anyone where you are. The visiting room is behind thick glass. You pick up the phone. The man on the other side isn't family. He's wearing an expensive suit and a forgettable face. I represent certain interests, he says. We've been watching your case. You're smart, discreet, and you understand how things really work. When you get out, there's an opportunity waiting. We take care of our people. He slides a piece of paper against the glass. A phone number written in neat block letters. Think about your future. Then he hangs up and leaves. You sit there holding the phone, listening to dead air. Even in here, you're not free. They've already decided what happens next. The years grind forward. You keep your head down. You read everything in the library. You help inmates with their cases. 3 of them actually get their sentences reduced because of your research. Word spreads. You're the guy who knows the law. Release day arrives without ceremony. They give you back your civilian clothes. They feel foreign on your body. A guard hands you $47 and a bus ticket. The gate opens. You walk out into sunlight that feels too bright. Air that smells too clean. You're free. Except you're not. The phone number from the visitor is folded in your pocket. You know you'll call it. Because men like you don't retire. You just move to different cells, different systems, different masters. You learned the real lesson in there. Freedom is an illusion. You're always serving somebody's time. Don't stand near the phones during certain hours. That's when the gangs conduct business. Don't ask anyone what they're in for. Don't accept gifts. Nothing is free. Everything has a price that comes due later. You nod, trying to memorize it all. The weight of it settles on your chest. 5 years of this. You discover time moves differently inside. Days blur together. Tuesday feels like Thursday feels like Saturday. The only markers are mail call, commissary day, and visitation hours that nobody comes to. You start marking time by smaller things. The way sunlight hits the yard at 3 in the afternoon. The rotation of meals. The sound of a particular guard's footsteps. You call home once a week. 20 minutes, monitored line. Your wife's voice sounds far away, like she's already moving on. She talks about bills, about fixing the car, about your daughter's school play. Normal life continuing without you. The conversation always ends the same way. I love you. I know. Click. Dial tone. Back to your cell. Month 3, you witness your first real violence. It erupts in the lunch line over nothing. A looked-at glance, a perceived disrespect. 1 second, everyone's shuffling forward with trays. The next, 2 men are on the ground, and there's blood spreading across the concrete. Guards swarm in with batons. Lockdown for 72 hours. You spend 3 days in your cell, using a plastic bucket as a toilet. Eating bag lunches passed through the slot. Your cellmate finally speaks more than 3 words. You get used to it. That's all he says. The library job saves you. Between the books and the legal work, you find purpose. An inmate named Carlos asks for help with his appeal. He's been down for 8 years on a drug charge, swears he was set up. You dig through case files, finding procedural errors the public defender missed. You draft a motion. 3 months later, Carlos gets a hearing. His sentence gets reduced by 4 years. He cries in the law library. Other inmates take notice. You're building reputation, the only real currency that matters. Not respect through fear, but value through skill. The shot callers start nodding when you pass. Nobody bothers you in the yard. You've found your niche in the ecosystem. You're the jailhouse lawyer, the guy who might actually help someone get out, but there's a price for visibility. A guard approaches you during your library shift. We know what you're doing. All those appeals, those motions, you're making the prosecutors look bad. Might want to slow down. It's not a suggestion. You ignore it. 2 days later, your cell gets tossed during a random inspection. They find a contraband phone you've never seen before. Solitary confinement. 30 days. The hole breaks something in everyone. 23 hours a day in a cell smaller than a parking space. No books, no human contact, no natural light. Meals pushed through a slot. You talk to yourself just to hear a voice. You count cracks in the ceiling. You lose track of days. When they finally release you back to general population, you're 10 pounds lighter and your hands shake. Your cellmate looks at you different now. You took a hit and didn't snitch. That means something. The old man from breakfast nods approval. You've been tested. You passed. But the lesson is clear. There are limits to how useful you can be before you become a problem. Year 2 arrives, then 3. The rhythm becomes automatic. You stop thinking about the outside. It's too painful. Your wife's letters become less frequent, then stop. Divorce papers arrive in month 40. You sign them without reading the details. What's the point? This is your life now.